How to decide on the very best residence insurance coverage firm. Residence insurance policy is a have-to, but there are a ton of selections to opt for from, just like in automobile insurance policy. There are 4 principal categories in household insurance policy: composition of the household, individual belongings, legal responsibility, and off-premises living expenditures. Household composition protection. Protection for the construction of your household should really everything come about is a have-to, but it is up to you how well included you want to be. There is a solution identified as prolonged substitute price coverage, which will substitute your real household 100% as opposed to a much decreased percentage. As well as, and more percentage is extra for the party that the household would have to be redeveloped to help defray the expenses of the existing housing industry rates. If you determine not to get the prolonged substitute solution, it is especially vital that you consider into account inflation in the housing industry every single time you renew your coverage sum. And any reworking improvements you make to the household should really be taken into account also when renewing coverage quantities. Particular belongings protection. There is also a prolonged substitute price coverage solution for your belongings as well. Essentially, your belongings can be defined as everything in the household that is non-structural. Many people today grossly undervalue what everything in their household would cost if it all had to be replaced. Thus, it is advised as great information to actually consider an inventory of everything in your household to get at least a tough estimate of what the cost would be to substitute it all. If you had to substitute it all, continue to keep in head, however, that it would all be replaced with the new variations of what you presently own. Thus, the cost to substitute everything would be, most very likely, much larger than their existing worth. Also, be confident to know the time frame for replacing your things, if any. And when they would truly help fork out, ahead of or after the point. Many insurance policy corporations favor to reimburse receipts as opposed to providing the dollars up front. Would that do the job for you in a worst situation state of affairs? Anything to make notice of when picking out insurance policy corporations. Floaters, also recognized as endorsements. Floaters can be believed of as a way of floating a lot more coverage over to your a lot more precious things. Protection quantities are meant for insuring primary domestic things and so consequently will be inadequate as it signifies for extravagant coverage on our individual items. That is when floaters occur into perform. You can purchase floater insurance policy for all those things that are incredibly precious in rate for sufficient coverage if everything should really come about to them, even if they are dropped. Liability protection. Clearly, the a lot more coverage you have for legal responsibility, the better. Liability expenses has the opportunity to be a lot more than anyone's wildest imagination. And consequently, the better protected you are, the better off you will be should really a worst situation state of affairs happen. Liability coverage will deal with you for injury performed to some others and their residents, which can get quite expensive, especially if they consider you to courtroom. It will also, consequently, fork out the courtroom charges, and no matter what the choose tends to make you dish out at the conclude of the working day for injury expenses. If you have pets that like to get out and induce injury, beware, you may want to up your legal responsibility coverage even a lot more. Protection for off-premises living. If a normal disaster brings about your household to be unlivable for though you would have to reside and take in other places for who is aware how long. Protection for off-premises living would deal with primary living expenses during the time that you are unable to reside in your own household. This is especially vital to have if you reside in a superior risk place for normal disasters to happen. Make confident you know which normal disasters your insurance policy covers you for. Really don't think it will be for all and any that happen. For example, most insurance policy corporations do not deal with for floods and earthquakes by default. You have to fork out added coverage for them specifically if you want coverage for it. Know what your coverages consist of. Coverages for every single insurance policy company will be similar, but the facts will be various. For example, if you drop your purse at the store that contained a ton of dollars, and you were unable to retrieve it, would your insurance policy deal with it underneath your individual belongings? A ton of owners' insurance policy corporations would, because they deal with all your belongings. No matter if you continue to keep them concealed or consider them out with you, they are normally included just the exact same. Many people today horribly undervalue what their owner's insurance policy company can and will do for them. So, it is great to know the facts of the coverages as well as what they deal with. What is the list of normal disasters? If a tree fell by way of your roof, would you have coverage for that? Also, what is defined as your household construction? If your unattached garage burned down to a stubble, would you have coverage for that? The a lot more you know about your coverages, the better. How can I preserve on my homeowner's insurance coverage? Just like with automobile insurance policy, the better your deductible is, the sum you have to fork out ahead of your insurance policy will help out. The decrease your premiums will be your regular monthly payment, which can help you save you a bundle of dollars. So, the optimum sum you are keen to fork out of pocket for if everything happens should really be your deductible. And if you use an owner's insurance policy company that also covers your automobile insurance policy as well, odds are you will get the bulk, discounted amount. Meeting safety expectations. Correcting up the household to meet up with insurance policy expectations will also lower your regular monthly payments with most insurers. It is a great idea to have their look-it-off list. Such as the specified kinds of alarms and locks desired. Occasionally even a housekeeper living with you can lower your costs because that can be appeared on as a quite great alarm technique also. Anything that poses as a hazard in the household will improve your costs, so to get rid of the dangerous things will really help with reducing costs. For example, using tobacco is a half hazard. Over 23,000 claimed household fires a year occur from using tobacco. The fenceless pool is a legal responsibility hazard. And the pet that scares the inspectors of your household will certainly be the induce of better costs as well. Land. Until you are apprehensive that the quiet land your household sits on will be pulled out from underneath you like a massive rug, leaving you with absolutely nothing but a gap in place. You in all probability never have to insure it. On the other hand, insurance policy corporations normally insert your land into the price of your household by default. If you subtract the price of your land from the price of your household and just deal with for that, then your costs will be significantly less because there will be significantly less expenditure to deal with. How can I make positive an insurance coverage firm is good? Believe it or not, there were property owner insurances that experimented with to refuse payment to all those insured when Katrina struck. Realizing the history of dealt with claims is a great indicator of how great a company is. Scores on the net can be checked, which indicates how well they fork out their claims.